Tom Pelissero, I think it was, says nothing imminent between the Niners and Deebo. How do you read that?
Well, I have to say this. I don't know how Tom Pelissero became the person who knows everything about Deebo, but he does. And I don't know why Deebo in his camp has continuously flowed all their news through him. The trade request came through him. Everything that was pretty big. He seems to be the one who knows. So how do I read this? It might be possible that nothing's imminent at this point. What I feel is if it's not done before training camp, they'll invite him to training camp, but they'll have him work off on the side again, just so he avoids the fines, and then they'll work it out and they'll get the deal done. I still am of the mind that they will get this done, but it's kind of interesting how Tom Pelissero is the mouthpiece for Deebo's camp because he's the one breaking every single thing, basically, that is actually true, not speculation.
It seems to me that Deebo really, really wants to be paid like he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And I respect that. He's a competitor and he just had a great year. It seems like the Niners aren't comfortable with that. And it's like, is one side going to blink or are they going to, is Deebo going to bet on himself here? It seems like the Niners, you want to offer him something that's not a slap in the face, but maybe not everything he wants because you have questions about maybe his offseason practices or his history of lower leg injuries. I mean, or his hands. I mean, there are questions. And then Deebo, he could say, why lock myself into this lower rate when I can have one more good year and break the bank? Which side's going to blink here, you think?
I think the 49ers ultimately cave to Deebo Samuel. I think that he's going to have to meet them a little bit more, like lower his average annual value of it, but he'll load it with incentives that he can hit, things that are very possible for him that'll help him get to that point. I think it's fine for the 49ers to be concerned about last year being his first real full healthy year. In 2019, he wasn't necessarily injured as much. It just took him a little while to get things going. I think people confuse that with being injured. Sure, he was nicked up here and there. 2020, you just write off. Last year, he was largely healthy and he played through almost everything as well, too, especially down the stretch. So it's fine for the 49ers to have concerns, but ultimately, I think that they'll find their way into the middle and get this done somehow. And I think they'll invite him to camp. Say, hey, listen, work off on the side. We're not going to, involve you too much, put any stress on you. I know you're worried about that. Just stay here with us, work in good faith, and we'll keep this thing going.
If I were the 49ers, I'd be very cautious with Deebo Samuel because I do have questions as well. And if he wants to sign an incentive-laden contract, great. But it seems like what superstars in the NFL want these days is guaranteed money. And for good reason. Look what Deshaun Watson got. So if that's what Deebo Samuel wants, I don't think he's going to get a lot of it from the 49ers this offseason. If he wants a lot, that's relative. I don't think he's going to get necessarily the top of the market. He could if he waited a year.
Maybe he could, but I think that there's a way for him to get a bunch of money guaranteed with, and it doesn't have to, when people hear incentive laden, they believe that it's all incentives. And I don't think that that's the case. I would think that he gets a bunch of guaranteed money, a lot. It'll put him in that range, just not at the top. And then he'll have some incentives that are easily triggered, right? Like 65 catches or a snap count number, or does he make the Pro Bowl? If he makes the All-Pro again, things like, well, I don't know if All-Pro is easy to attain, but I think that when we see Deebo Samuel at his best, he's one of those guys. So I don't blame him, by the way, for wanting every single guaranteed dollar that he can get. This league, see, this is the thing, is so many people that have pushback about, I remember somebody on Twitter saying, well, why do you need 26 million as opposed to 20 million? Well, dude, you could almost die playing this game, right? And you're at the top of this game. You get every single dollar you can, because when you're injured and the team has no more use for you, guess what they do? They cut you and they move on. So again, why do a team a favor when they would do you no favor when they have no more use for you going forward?
What I'm interested in with Deebo is how they use him when he comes back, because last year, his usage really evolved throughout the entire year. He started off the year getting like 10, 11 targets a game, and it didn't work. They weren't winning. He was dropping passes. They found a better balance with him sort of halftime running back, halftime wide receiver. But then by the playoffs, his split was 27 carries, 10 catches in 3 games. 10 catches in 3 games is not enough. In the playoffs for an all-pro wide receiver, I understand why they gave him those carries, but they can't keep doing that. So I'm really curious to see what the new plan is for Deebo Samuel.
Right. They can't keep doing that, and Deebo doesn't want to do that. Playing wide receiver doesn't put you in harm's way in that way. And look, we can talk about, hey, they needed the explosion because Raheem Mostert wasn't there. They did. We could also put our tinfoil hat on and say he was on his way to some record-breaking numbers, and they were like, let's slow this down a little bit. Let's, so I think it was a little bit out of necessity, a little bit the 49ers being crafty because they knew that was about to come down the line.
That's a good point. Juice Man Jeremy also makes a really good point. He says it's July 21st and Jimmy Garoppolo is.
Is that breaking news?
It's breaking news. Do you have? Can you source that? Can you source that? You get.
I need a source and I need a follow up.
Zach Carter says the dynamic duo is back. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
All right. So look, the thing about Nothing Imminent, I just want to remind people. That's what Mike Silver said about the George Kittle extension in 2019. Yep. He said it was inchworm emoji. Yep. And the next day I was like, no, it's happening tomorrow.
And remember, George Kittle might opt out because of COVID, so he didn't have to, whatever. I can say what I want about Mike Silver. He blocked me. That's fine. I don't care, man. Like, that dude, like, after I called him out because it was a bunch of nonsense what he said about Trey Lance's arm, he blocked me. But, yeah, well, nothing's imminent with that, and George Kittle might opt out because of COVID. George Kittle plays football. He would never opt out. Like, I don't understand why you think you're close to that.
Mike Silver. He took a shot at me. I wasn't even –
you didn't even do nothing.
I wasn't even disputing the arm fatigue thing because Matt Mayoko reported the same thing. I wasn't. Yeah. He just said that he literally said there are days where when Trey Lance throws a lot, the next day he can't throw.
When did that happen?
No one else reported that. And I was I'm at the facility. I must have missed that. So I thought that was a fair follow-up. Like, when did this ever happen?
That's what I said too. Is like I quote tweeted him and I just said he's literally thrown all offseason and was at every OTA practice. What on earth are you talking about? Like, there was never a day that they gave him off. Like,
just pull Dan Silio and tell us exactly what you're talking about. I mean, just be transparent.
Look, real quick, too, about that Dan Silio stuff. None of that stuff is true at all. Like, Don Yee came right out and was like, no, absolutely not.
I want to give him credit. He was the first person to say that Jimmy started throwing weeks before.
He did.
Feeling he heard one thing and turned it into 7.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He heard one piece of news and just extrapolated from there. But he got that one thing right.
That guy is over the top extra. But, like, he got that one thing right about the throwing because he did. He was the first one to report that. But then the whole, like, Brady, and he wants him to be his backup. And it's just like, dude, what on earth were you talking about? Like, and then it's so crazy because I know Don Yee. Don Yee comes out. None of that is true. None of it is true.
Amazing. Because when he was saying it, I was like, Don Yee's going to
that kind of makes sense.
48 hours. I mean, it's a matter of time. It's like, just wait till Monday.